Is the Earth spherical? Well, no, it's geoid, really, which means Earth form. Because it's not a sphere, and because it's somewhat flattened at the poles, we also have oceans, mountains, plains, and other geographical features that give it a unique shape, which is called a geoid. But it turns out that there is certain data and some stories that give us the idea of a hollow Earth. That is, a land that is like a ball that has air in the middle, that is, a shell of hundreds of kilometers thick but hollow in the center. Here we will tell one of the most amazing stories about the hollow Earth.
The hollow Earth was a concept proposing that the planet Earth is entirely hollow or contains a substantial interior space, notably suggested by Edmund Halley in the late 17th century. However, the notion was first disproven in 1740 and again in 1774 by Charles Hutton. But was these conclusions accurate? There are still many who believe the Earth has a vast cavern system below our very feet. On the surface, the Mammoth National Park in central Kentucky encompasses around 80 square miles, but underneath lies a twisted labyrinth of limestone caves, creating a network that earns the title the longest cave system in the world.
Richard E. Byrd, pilot of the US Navy, flew over the poles, both the Arctic and the Antarctic. With a small Fokker monoplane, he flew over the Arctic, passing through Greenland, Kings Bay, now Ny-Ålesund, and Spitsbergen, Svalbard, reaching the North Pole. As for the South Pole, in 1928 he set up a camp based on the northern tip of Roosevelt Island in the Ross Sea, with laboratories, workshops, warehouses, a radio station, and a hospital. This base was the Byrd Camp and his crew of 42 people for 14 months.
Roosevelt Island is in the northeastern part of the Ross Ice Shelf. The ice-covered island off the coast of Antarctica is around about 90 miles long and 35 miles wide, and was discovered in 1934 by Admiral Byrd himself. It was, in fact, a perfect location for all base camps.
At last, on November the 29th, 1929, he flew over the South Pole. This expedition and 3 others in 1934, 1939 and 1955 made Byrd a well-known explorer of Antarctica. But here we're going to focus on something that Byrd never spoke about in public, about what happened to him on one of his trips to the poles, but we know from third parties that he found the entrance to the interior of the Earth.
The entrance to the centre of the Earth sounds almost like a bad 1950s sci-fi movie. But is there in fact any truth to this? Ariana and Agartha are the legendary kingdoms that is said to be located in the Earth's core. Though many remain sceptical, and rightly so, could Admiral Byrd's diary logs provide a tantalising truth, so amazing it's difficult to believe.
Here we have access to his flight log about what happened on February the 19th, 1947. This would be an unofficial expedition, that's why it wasn't previously named. From his blog, we can read the following. I am not at liberty to disclose the following documentation in this writing. It may never see the light of public scrutiny, but I must do my duty and record here so that everyone can read it someday. We're going to avoid log entries that talk about routine issues, and we'll go directly to the substance. So registration begins at 0600 hours, 6 in the morning. 0900 hours, vast ice and snow below. Yellowish coloration of nature is observed and dispersed in a linear pattern. Altering the course to better examine this color pattern below, reddish or purple is also observed. Circulating this area in 2 full turns, returning to the direction assigned by the compass, checking position again with the base camp, and transmitting information about colorations in the ice and the snow below. 0910 hours. Both magnetic and gyro compasses beginning to gyrate and wobble. We're unable to hold our heading by instrumentation. Take bearing with sun compass, yet all seems well. The controls are seemingly slow to respond and have sluggish quality, but there's no indication of icing. 0915 hours. In the distance is what appears to be mountains. 0949 hours. 20 minutes elapsed flight time from the first sighting of the mountains. It's no illusion. There are mountains consisting of a small range that I've never seen before. 09:55 hours, altitude change to 2,950 feet, encountering strong turbulence again. 1000 hours, we are crossing over a small mountain range and still proceeding northwards as best as can be ascertained. Beyond the mountain range is what appears to be a valley with a small river or stream running through the center portion. There should be no green valley below. Something is definitely wrong and abnormal here. We should be over ice and snow. To the port side are great forests growing on the mountain slopes. Our navigation instruments are still spinning, the gyroscope is oscillating back and forth. 10:05 hours. I alter altitude to 1400 feet and execute a sharp left turn to better examine the valley below. It is green with either moss or a type of tight-knit grass. The light here seems different. I cannot see the sun anymore. We make another left turn and we spot what seems to be a large animal of some kind below us. It appears to be an elephant. No, it looks more like a mammoth. This is incredible, yet there it is. Decrease altitude to 1,000 feet and take binoculars to better examine the animal. It is confirmed. It is definitely a mammoth-like animal.
It's not the first time people have reported strange animals. Occasionally, reports do come in of people sighting dinosaurs and other extinct animals. Unusually, it's locations where humans are pretty scarce. If we take for an example the woolly mammoth, well, they were once thought to be legendary creatures. They weren't even identified as extinct species until around about 1790s, I believe. Could it be that Admiral Byrd witnessed some sort of aberration or experienced something more profound, like a portal or doorway to another reality?
Report this to base camp. 10:30 hours, encountering more rolling green hills now. The external temperature indicator reads 74 degrees Fahrenheit. Continuing on our heading now. Navigation instruments seem normal now. I'm puzzled over their actions. Attempt to contact base camp. Radio is not functioning. 11:30 hours. Countryside below is more level and normal, if I may use that word. Ahead we spot what seems to be a city. This is impossible. Aircraft seem light and oddly buoyant. The controls refuse to respond. My God, off our port and starboard wings are a strange type of aircraft. They're closing rapidly alongside. They're disc-shaped and have a radiant quality to them. They're close enough now to see the markings on them. It's a type of swastika. This is fantastic. Where are we? What has happened? I tug at the controls again. They will not respond. We're caught in an invisible vice grip of some type. 11:35 hours. Our radio crackles and a voice comes through in English with what perhaps is a slight Nordic or Germanic accent. The message is, "Welcome, Admiral, to our domain. We shall land you in exactly 7 minutes. Relax, Admiral, you are in good hands." I note the engines of our planes have stopped running, but the aircraft is under some strange control and is now turning itself. The controls are useless. 11:40 hours. Another radio message received. We begin the landing process now, and in moments the plane shudders slightly and begins a descent as though caught in some great unseen elevator. The downward motion is negligible and we touch down only with a slight jolt. 11:45 hours. I'm making a hasty last entry in the flight log. Several men are approaching on foot towards our aircraft. They are tall with blonde hair. In the distance is a large shimmering city pulsating with rainbow hues of color. I do not know what is going to happen now, but I see no signs of weapons on those approaching. I hear now a voice ordering by name to open the cargo door. I comply. End of log.
Some of these caverns can be huge. Of course, we don't believe we've probably discovered all these caverns which might be on planet Earth. We do know that vast systems like this do probably exist throughout the solar system. There's even rumours that there are vast cavern systems or some type of hollow area on our moon. So not only do we discuss the topics of hollow Earth here, we're also discussing the topics of the hollow moon. Yes, it's feasible. Things could exist like that, and yes, there is probably room for a civilization to actually live under the ground. After all, ancient civilizations around planet Earth have lived under the ground in periods of time in our past, and they are visible by cave systems that go deep into the planet and must have taken hundreds of years to construct. It's amazing what people can actually do. But is there civilization hidden away in Antarctica? That's the biggest question that we face here, and I don't really know for sure if that could exist or not. If so, then it's something that has really been well kept secret. Maybe that we'll learn more as years pass. Or excavations and exploratory science missions go across Antarctica and we do get that information. One thing is for sure, there are many people that are coming forward today utilising Google Earth as a piece of software to identify locations of interest across Antarctica. And it is a subject which is very well much in the limelight at the moment, especially regarding whistleblowers which are coming forward and saying that they were part of a military operation and involved with locating underground facilities throughout Antarctica that clearly are not our own. If that is the case, then we have to really start thinking, could there be some truth to these incidents? And was Admiral Byrd's diary logs actually real events which unfolded, which he made logs of? It's very difficult to know. But one thing is for sure, there's a huge amount of secrecy surrounding Admiral Byrd's diary logs. Where are they? And what was really written in them? It's really difficult to work out what's true and what's not here, but one thing is for sure, we have a huge mystery on our hand.
Then, the Admiral describes from memory the following events because he could not register in his log moment by moment, as he did up to this point. What follows is his conversation with whoever captured him. Byrd and Howie, his radio operator, get off their plane, escorted by their hosts on a kind of flying platform, without wheels, and take them to a large room in a building that, according to his words, he'd never seen before in his life. In this room, they're invited to have a drink, a delicious drink, but not recognized by neither. Suddenly, a door opens silently and Byrd is invited to go and talk with the Great Master. On this door, he could see some inscriptions that he couldn't read. This Great Master is an old man, but with delicate features, and he asked the Admiral not to be afraid that he needed to talk to him. The Master told Byrd that he had been allowed access for being a good-hearted man and well known in the surface world. This surprised the Admiral, and the teacher continued speaking. "You are in the domain of the Ariani, the inner world of Earth. We shall not long delay your mission, and you will be safely escorted back to the surface and for a distance beyond. But now, Admiral, I shall tell you why you have been summoned here. Our interest rightly begins just after your race exploded the first atomic bombs over Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Japan. It was at that alarming time we sent our flying machines, the Flugelrads, to your surface world to investigate what your race had done. That is, of course, past history now, my dear Admiral, but I must continue on. Our emissaries have already delivered messages to the powers of your world, and yet they do not heed. Now you have been chosen to be witness here that our world does exist. You see, our culture and science is many thousands of years beyond your race, Admiral. Your race has now reached the point of no return, for there are those amongst you who would destroy your very world rather than relinquish their power as they know it."
Antarctica has been a mysterious place for a long time, with people claiming that they've seen all sorts of strange things from there. There was, in the 1970s and to the 1980s, people who reported seeing a very large black hole over Antarctica. There was, in fact, one satellite photograph that circulated the internet. However, it turned out that it was actually part of the actual photographic process and the arm of the photographic telescope which caused this round hole to appear in the middle of the Antarctic. That was pretty much realised very quickly. However, it didn't stop people coming forward with conspiracy theories that there was a massive cover-up. There was a huge hole in the Antarctica where objects, flying discs and things would enter in and come out of. And of course, the governments of the world were keeping that very hush-hush. Truth of the matter is, there are some strange, unusual holes in Antarctica, cavern systems, caves. Could they be a place which are entrances to another world? Who really knows? It seems that Antarctica is well off the map for being a location where you can visit. It seems very difficult to find out any information about Antarctica these days, even though in the 21st century we all have access to computer and software systems which might be able to utilize satellites to find locations. There are still areas completely blacked out. We have to question, why is that?
In 1945 and afterwards, we tried to contact your race, but our efforts were met with hostility. Our Flügelrads were fired upon. Yes, even pursued with malice and animosity by your fighter planes. So now I say to you, my son, there is a great storm gathering in your world, a black fury that will not spend itself for many years. There will be no answer in your arms, there will be no safety in your science. It may rage on until every flower of your culture is trampled and all human things are leveled in vast chaos. Your recent war was only a prelude of what is yet to come for your race. We here see it more clearly with each hour. Do you say I am mistaken? Bird replied that no, he knew that the Earth had passed through a dark age previously. The teacher continued with his monologue about the end of the Earth, deforestation, environmental pollution and so on, which are the factors that will take us to the next dark age, which will come to Earth, and asked Bird to spread his message to future generations.
It's not a real surprise to find that people believe in ancient hidden cities around the world. We've already discovered ancient cities before. We still know that there are some ancient cities which haven't been found yet, which we believe exist, such as the lost city of the Amazon. There are many places like this which researchers and scientists still continue to try and find. However, it does prove that yes, we can hide such a thing like this in plain sight in some cases. What happens if something is underground? Well, that's literally not going to be found at all, especially in a region known as Antarctica, where prying eyes don't get a chance to see what's actually there. It is a complete lockdown location, and I think only people that go in and out is military and science expeditions.
Any of us living an experience like Bird's would go out into the world and tell our story without thinking that many people would think that we're crazy. Instead, Bird hid the message, keeping it to himself. Why did he do this? Well, simply because when he told the high commanders of the Pentagon, they ordered him to be silent. Even the President of the United States, Harry S. Truman, was duly informed too. The Admiral, being a soldier, kept silent, accepting the orders of silence in the name of humanity. What? Was Admiral Richard Byrd a visitor to the Hollow Earth? Did the Ariani, the inhabitants of the Hollow Earth, allow him entry? Does this mean that the inhabitants of the Hollow Earth can open doors or gateways to their domains? If we have to be partial, there are certain sources that say that his diary does not exist, and that it is from the writer F. Amadeo Gianni, published in 1957. His book is called The World Beyond the Poles, where he tells the story of Admiral Byrd, and that this story comes to light. There are, in addition to this document, many sources that cite the Hollow Earth, from the city of Urx in Argentina to the cave of Los Tayos in Ecuador. Not only would there be entrances to an underground world, but also a kind of entrance hall to the Hollow Earth itself.
In ancient times, the concept of a subterranean land inside the Earth appeared in mythology, folklore and legends. The idea of a subterranean realms became intertwined with the concepts of places and origin of even afterlife, such as the Greek underworld. Even the Tibetan Buddhists believe that there is, in fact, an ancient city called Shambhala, which is located inside the Earth.
If we believe in the Admiral's diary, the Ariani have been sending their UFOs, called Flügelrads, for years. They would bring their message of peace so that we take care of our planet, but then man attacks the UFOs, preventing them from delivering the message.
So is there any new evidence to support Admiral Byrd's claims? It's been a long time since Admiral Byrd visited Antarctica, as you can well imagine. Well, there are whistleblowers that have come forward, as I've previously mentioned, who talk about coming across certain facilities that look to be advanced technology, look to be that they may have not been created by us. If that is the case, then that lends even new theories and new ideas about what is really going on in Antarctica. There is even speculation that numerous officials, presidents and astronomers and scientists had a gathering at Antarctica not too long ago. If that is true, then we have to ask the questions why. Was this some mass discovery that needed their input? It's interesting to note that there seems to be evidence to support that these people were around the Antarctica location at that given time. Why astronauts? Why scientists? Why presidents? It would suggest that something of major was discovered in Antarctica, and if that is the case, then could it have been this lost city, the lost city that Admiral Byrd claimed to have witnessed?
Recall the case of the Battle of Los Angeles. A UFO of gigantic dimensions on February the 25th, 1942, flew over Los Angeles, generating alarm. Was it a Flugelrad sent by the Ariane to try to stop, and that it wanted to communicate with the high commanders of the United States? If so, obviously the dialogues between the Ariane and the humans ended before we started. Maybe because of this, we can never get in touch with the other inhabitants of our world.